swamp people got rights too. They matter. Let's build them somewhere to live. All right, we've been going for a minute, so let's get right into it. This episode, we're building like a swampy shanty district with like a swamp compound. Let's just call it a SWAMPTOwn. Right now, I'm just doing a little bit of terraforming. I don't need all of this, and I wanted to have lots of little creeks and run-throughs, and I just wanted to really be uneven, unkempt. We're going to OD on the trees and vegetation. I'm not going to show it all. Also, I have a plan. I'm not freestyling this. I'm going to show you like a breakdown of what we plan to do. And I'm going to make the entire district a pedestrian district. That way I don't have to deal with like service cars. I do have to worry about death care. But other than that, I think we should be good. Everything should be able to be controlled. So I'm going to start with a ferry stop right here. We're going to build a little market space. Up here, I'm going to make some farmland. Down here in the cut, we're going to make us a little juke joint. Hashtag this here my juke joint.
You said this here our juke joint.
Death care is going to be handled by this church right here. Got our family compound over here in the cut. And the last thing is the dockside shacks. It's going to be dope. Like I said, we're not flying by the seat of our pants. It's not Freestyle Friday. We know what we're doing. Right now, I'm going to lay out some of these park life paths to roads. That is what the asset pack is called, park life paths to roads. It treats these park life paths like normal 1-unit roads. They support low traffic. If anybody's wondering, our fire and police are coming from helicopter depots that I put down off camera. So that's one less service vehicle we got on the road. Right now, I'm just laying down our ferry stop because it's definitely one way in, one way out. This is going to be a really enclosed, tight community, and there will be a story at the end to explain all this. The last chapter of Hidden Legacy is going to be at the end of the episode. It's kind of long, so I didn't want to put it in the middle. So make sure you check that out. It'll give some context to even why I'm building this, and it also kind of completes the story for anybody that's been paying attention. So these are the houses that we're going with, straight shanty towns, and I'm going to start with our family compound, the Devereaux family, actually. And I know you're like, wait a minute, hold on, they was criminals, they had money. You got to watch the story. Check out my details. All right, little quick detailing to start us off right, man. Get us moving in the right direction. I turned off that edge fog and searched those edges to see if we finally had people showing up. So I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between checking all these names and seeing if anybody's going to any of these houses. We kind of renamed a couple of them. We got nobody yet, and I think we finally do have somebody. My man right here in the teal hoodie. You know what I'm saying? I think he actually is going to the Devereaux family compound. So let's go ahead and change his last name. He light skinned, so you know sometimes things just work out. We can go ahead and check around and see is anybody else going by any chance to any of those houses we already built. Hey, we got one more right here. So look, this is his girl. Her name is Siobhan Devereaux. He light skinned, she a white girl. Again, if you've been following the lore of the city, that sounds about right. That sounds pretty accurate, man. So we got our first swamp. They look clean. I wish we had swamp people clothes on, but I ain't mad at them, man. I'm not mad at them. Let's jump back over to our ferry depot spot. It's super undetailed. It needs a lot of love and care. So let's just take a moment, use some of these shantytown assets and kind of create. This isn't a ferry shop. This is probably more like a bait shop or some kind of little general store. Again, it's one way in, one way out. You probably have been in this store, got something out of this store. Your auntie work in this store. Everybody pretty much in this little area is some kind of family, some kind of cousin, auntie, nephew. they don't really truck outsiders out here. You know, nobody's on Zillow trying to get one of these compound spots. Not at all. Down here in this cut, I wanted to start a little bit of prep work for our juke joint. Now, right behind the juke joint, I'm using this shanty. Look at the police. All right, police fighting that crime. All right, I'm dropping this pier asset down. I think this was a functional fishing dock, but we're just using PO. I'm using a raised piece of vanilla path right now. We're gonna make sure all that's lined up, all of it's level, and I'm gonna use some invisible paths to ghost that out. So basically, when you get off the ferry, if you're not going to the juke joint, you're walking down this pier and going to the rest of the neighborhood. And I liked how that looked in the cinematics. I really like people having to walk down this little pier. Now, of course, right now we don't have any water or anything under it to justify it even being right here. So we're gonna finish working with some path and making sure everything's smooth. And now we're gonna kind of clear some of this out, dig some of that out right there. Let that water on in. Before I drop down our juke joint assets, I just want to make sure this all kind of looks lived in. Lots of reeds, lots of vegetation. For anybody who doesn't know what a juke joint is, back in the day in the South, stuff was really far apart. And if you did manage to make it all the way to the regular part of the city where everybody was, they definitely wasn't letting you in that club. Get out of here, you jigaboo, or whatever, you know, insert random racial slur here. You wasn't getting in. These people that lived in these swamps, they was black, they was white, they was mixed up more than that. So they built their own little spot. And that's what a lot of people did back in the day. They built their own spots to go party in because folk wouldn't let them in. Since it's starting to get dark out here, I think it's starting to get evening, man. Let's go ahead and detail up our juke joint. Let's get it lit. I really like that little sign behind the ice machine. The sign that says Maddie's, like Maddie's, Madison. Sometimes things just work out. Anyway, across the street from there, we're building like a little makeshift campsite. People probably just stand around, drink beers, talk, hang around, pull your boat up, all that. I'm starting to see some death care problems. I knew that was going to happen because, again, there is no way to handle that through the pedestrian service point. So we're going to build us a little tiny country church with a blank death care asset, and we're going to use like some graveyard props to kind of detail it and make it just look a little bit more official. I really wanted to have each one of the little islands, for lack of a better word, in this little swamp area to kind of all have a different function, or at least a different center point or main attraction. So this one right here will serve as our death care. This is the first of like 3 little projects I want to do. So let's go ahead and get to the next one. We're going to speed through all this. That's done. We're going to move on to our farmland. Now, one of the problems with this place way back in the day is they didn't have enough farmland, which is why they ended up never really flourishing. I don't want to give away too much of the story. I don't want to spoiler alert my own little story at the end, but this farmland was built after that. They quickly realized that was a problem, so they added, more self-sustaining resources to this island so they wouldn't really ever have to leave here. So that's the same kind of spirit we going with. We're just adding some little crops. We're going to add some chicken coops and things like that. Let's delete these that don't match and sprinkle some chickens around. So now you can get eggs, fried chicken. These are fried chickens, the prequel. And our farmland is done. So like I said, we're just going to speed through these little projects, nothing crazy. The next one, I think we're going to jump down and near the ferry depot and make our little market spot. There will be some actual residential houses and stuff too, but mostly it's just going to be a lot of props, a lot of shanty towns, some commercial assets, but the rest of them will be just residentials. And I'm going to make like a little back path back here. Use one of our little pedestrian paths, our regular vanilla paths, and I'm gonna kind of stack some of these houses on the back. I didn't want the houses to just kind of be like at the corner of the street and that's all. Like, no, these houses will be kind of all packed around I kind of wanted it to have that organic third world type of vibe, man. You can see down here they got the fish market assets jumping off. We got a fire pit. I bet you they back there grilling alligator and snakes and whatnot. All types of crazy. But we really need to add some more residents back here, man. Let's have a short residential time lapse. I wanted to leave this little part in because I like showing when stuff doesn't work all the way. Right here is a block for our service point. Now, I detailed this up, kind of made it look like a little something, you know, just so it wasn't a little block out there. And after I did all this and kind of got it looking how I wanted to look, I quickly noticed that it actually wasn't working. Like, I'm not sure if it's the functionality of the asset or something, but regardless of that, we was still getting no goods. I mean, so it's like 2 stores on the island, 3 stores. Why we shouldn't be dealing with this, man? I can't put no industrial assets out here, so I'm just gonna use a regular old vanilla service point, man. And as soon as I kind of checked it on the little map thingy here, immediately you can see cargo is going there. Like, every plan doesn't work all the way 100%. Sometimes there is little things that might not go the way I want it, and I have to try to figure out a workaround. So this was definitely one of those times. If you have problems with weirdo builds and something not working, trust me, it happens to everybody. The last thing I wanted to do is build me like a crazy little docky shanty stacked up on top of each other. It's gonna have favela vibes. It's gonna have, I don't know, man. I don't even know what to call this little thing, man. But I just saw it in my head and I wanted to build it. So I'm using some different shanty assets. I tried to stay away from the stone assets. I wanted more of those tin assets, the sheet metal joints. But that one on the corner was just perfect, man. So like I said, I'm trying to use PO. If you don't use PO, it warps the land, and I won't be able to have this little water inlet area right here, and that's really important to me to have. So I would rather use PO and then go back in and put residential blocks than not be able to build it as small as I want to build it. And, you know, if I could do it with functional pieces, but it would be a lot bigger. It just wouldn't have my micro sensibilities. I love making things tiny. We're gonna go ahead and add a little bit of grass, some overgrowth back here, and I'm gonna use some of these shanty docks to make this little area right here kind of like a little, everybody be taking a jet ski down here, they pontoon boat, they whatever, you hop off the boat, it's bars right here, probably some hookers, definitely some drugs. I mean, it's one way in, one way out off the island. No, actually, now that I think about it, they're probably making a lot of their own drugs. They probably got farm-to-table drugs in this little community right here. But everybody doesn't go to the juke joint. Sometimes the juke joint is whack. Maybe they're not open. People actually live down here, too, as well. That's what makes this different from the juke joint spot. This does have a little commercial vibe, a little hangout spot vibe, but you know, these are actual residents that live down here. A lot of those boats are probably people that live here. I'm going to throw a weight set on the top so my man, whoever live up here, can hit that steel. Make sure you swole. Little vegetation. Just want it to look overgrown, man. I kind of wanted to look like that place where Black Widow found the Credible Hulk in the first Avengers movie. Remember when he was ducked off in the cut? That's kind of the vibe I want, man, you know. So we're going to throw some reeds around, lots of water vegetation, making this all look good. And the last part of it is the lighting, man. We got to make sure it looks good at night because it be jumping at night. So let's make sure we put some of these lamps, some of these string lights. And that pretty much brings the episode to a close. Like I said, for anybody that is interested in the last chapter of Hidden Legacy, it's at the end. It explains why we even built all this. It's right after these here cinematics.
Flashpoint 1902, in a small law office, the two formidable matriarchs faced each other for the first time. Eva, recognized as John Francis's legal wife by American law, stood in stark contrast to Abigail, who bore John's firstborn children and rightfully claimed the heirs to the family wealth. While most of what followed has been distorted through the lens of history, a few facts remain. Gunfire erupted as men loyal to Lady Devereaux clashed with an armed protection outfit hired by Abigail and her daughters. Abigail was wounded, but Eva managed to escape into the wild swamplands off the coast of the newly developed Rivertown. Over the next few years, she waged a guerrilla war against the Taylor family's legitimate business interests, training her children, especially her daughters, to become ruthless killers. Numerous lawmen and hired guns ventured into the swamps, only to meet unfortunate fates. Eva's death in 1915 should have signaled the decrease in the Devereaux reign of terror, but if Eva was the common cold, Mad Madison and her brood were the bubonic plague. By this time, she had borne several children to various fathers. Legends claimed she was of Voodoo priestess or a witch, but historical facts reveal a vicious bombing campaign that spared no one. In 1910, Madison killed the eldest Taylor sister, and when the remaining Taylor family attempted to bypass her rail blockades, their trains were robbed and bombed. Madison commanded an army of Bushmen, former slaves, Mexicans, and Native Americans. The US government finally intervened in 1918 with makeshift naval blockades. The swamplands lacked adequate farmland and food reserves to withstand the siege for long. Madison was ultimately captured and sentenced to hang within a fortnight. Unbeknownst to many, Madison's eldest sons, twins named John and Remy, went AWOL from their posts in World War I's Austrian front to avenge their mother's death. Their first target was the judge who had sentenced her. The papers say they set him ablaze while he slept. The brothers didn't stop there. They rode for a day and night to the judge's familial estate that was home to several extended family members. They then used canisters of mustard gas they smuggled out of Europe to kill more than 40 people. While the Devereaux rage was directed elsewhere, the remaining Taylor family rose to prominence in legitimate business, becoming judges and businessmen. They even established their own brewery in the 1920s, foreseeing the end of prohibition on the horizon. On the other side of Rivergate, the Devereaux family began building their fortune through bootlegging. In the 1920s, it was whiskey; in the 1970s, it was cocaine and women; in the 1990s, it was crack and assault weapons. The cycle continued, leading us to the present day. The Taylor family now sits at the forefront of a billion-dollar business empire, while the elusive Devereaux family is rumored to still be entangled in the seedy side of Rivergate's criminal underworld. Thank you for watching Hidden Legacy, the saga of Rivergate. Brought to you in part by Skylines Bank.